Okay, this video is about dividing polynomials. There are several ways that you can do it. The two main ways is long division and synthetic division. Long division sounds exactly like it is. It's kind of like dividing 5 into 236. You would just figure out how many 5s can go into 23, which is 4. Subtract off the pieces, bring down. 5 goes into 36 7 times. And we end up with a remainder of 1. So that's the same process we're going to be doing here, except now we're actually matching up the x squares and the x's as well as the numbers. So we're going to rewrite our problem with the divided part goes on the outside of the bar. Okay, so we're going to put the first equation goes inside. That's very important that you put them in the right spot. Easiest way to double check that is that you have the biggest exponent should always be under the bar. Also, it's important that you put in spacers for any missing exponents because you're going to need those when we're doing the actual dividing. So we're putting in 0x squared even though it wasn't originally written. Now we're going to divide what times 3x squared will give us 15x cubed. If you're not sure, do a quick dividing on the side and say, okay, 15x squared divided by 3, 15 divided by 3, that gives me 5. X cubed divided by x squared, well, that gives me x. So we're just going to multiply by 5x. And since there's 3 pieces here, we're going to match it up to what it ends up being below. So 5x should go over where 12x is. 5x times 3x squared is 15x squared. 5x times 6x is 30x squared. Excuse me, it was 15x cubed. 5x times 1 gives me plus 5x. And now we're going to subtract. So we're going to subtract straight down, which changes all of the signs for everything underneath. Just as if we were doing that first step. So 15 minus 15, that goes away. 0 minus 30 becomes negative 30x squared. 12 minus 5 gives me 7x. And then we're going to bring down the negative 13. Now we have to ask ourselves, what times 3 will give me negative 30x squared? Well, I just need a variable, a constant, and it's going to be negative 10. So negative 10 times 3 is negative 30x squared. Negative 6 times 6x is going to be negative 60x. Negative 10 times 1 is going to give me negative 10. And again, we're going to subtract, so that changes all of our signs. And then we're going to add down. So negative 30 plus 30 gives me 0. 7 times plus 60 is 67x. Negative 3 plus 10 is negative 3. And that part is your remainder. So our final way of writing our answer is dividing it out becomes 5x minus 10 plus the remainder over the divisor. So 3x squared plus 6x plus 1, which is as small as it's going to get. Just as if we had done this problem up here where we would say our answer is 47 plus 1 over 5, or 47 1/5. So that is how you would do that. Okay, I'm going to skip the second example and we're going to go ahead and do the third example. This is where you're doing synthetic division. Synthetic division requires you take the dividend over here, the x minus 2, and we're going to make that equal to 0 to find out what x is. X would be 2. What we're dividing by is what x is. So here we only want to write down what we're dividing by and then only the coefficients of each of the numbers. Again, if there's one missing, you need to make sure to add it in as a 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull down our first coefficient, and then we're going to multiply by what we're dividing by. So we're multiplying by 2, so we're going to do 2 times 2, because this 2 is this times 2. and that gives us 4. Then we're going to add down, so 1 plus 4 is 5. Then we're going to multiply again by the 2 that we're dividing by, and that gives us 10. Then we add down again, that gives us 14 times 2, that's 28. And then we add down again, and we get 42. So our answer is going to be one exponent less than what we started with. So everything reduces by 1, and the coefficients are now the ones that we have. And then we have 42 out of x minus 2. And that would be our answer. Okay. Synthetic division on this one, same kind of thing. We have x plus 1/3 equals 0. So x is negative 1/3. And then we're going to just copy down 6, negative 16, negative 7. Actually, sorry, we need to add in 0 because there's not an x squared. Negative 7 and 4. Bring down our 6. And then we're going to multiply by the negative 1/3. So 6 times negative 1/3 is like 6 divided by negative 3, which is negative 2. And then negative 18 times negative 1/3 is negative 18 divided by 3, negative 3, which is positive 6. 6 times negative 1/3 again is going to be negative 2. So we get negative 9. And we're just simply doing the same process over and over again. And then negative 9 times negative 3, 1/3 is positive 3. So we end up with a 7 as a remainder. Remember, this last number is always a remainder. And for many of our questions, this is what we're going to be looking for. Okay, it is actually where the negative 1/3 is, and that's the actual point where negative 1/3 would be. So negative 1/3, 7 is the point in this equation. And then so our answer is 6x to the third, because remember we reduced by 1, minus 18x squared plus 6x minus 9 plus 7 over x plus 1/3. And we always go back to the original dividend. Okay, so one of the things that we want to know is this particular version, x plus 2, a factor of the polynomial? If it ends up being a 0 remainder, then it is a factor. X plus, or 5x plus 4 to the fourth plus 10x to the third plus 5x plus 10 equals 0. When you actually put that on a graph where it crosses the x, it will be at positive 2, or actually negative 2. So again, we need to write our x plus 2 equals 0 to find out what we're dividing by. And we're going to use synthetic division. Remember to put in 0 for the x squared because there wasn't 1. That's the only thing that'll catch you, is not remembering to do that. And then we pull down our 5. So 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. That adds to 0. 0 times negative 2 is still 0. 0 plus 0 is still 0. Times negative 2, still 0. 5 plus 0 is 5. Times negative 2 is negative 10, and negative 10 plus 0 is 10. So the x minus 2 is a factor, and here's what it would look like. X minus 2 times 5x to the third, because remember we dropped 1 degree on our order, x squared, x, and then our constant. So that is going to be our two possibles. And we can actually even factor a little bit further by pulling out that 5, because then we have x cubed plus 1. So x minus 2 is definitely a factor, and then the x squared cubed plus 1 is going to give us our other 3 factors. Okay, so one more time we're going to check to see if x minus 4 is a factor of this equation. X minus 4 equals 0. X equals 4, so we're dividing by 4, and we want to write down all of our coefficients. Remember to add in any that we need. So we had x cubed, x squared, x, and then our constant. Bring down our 7. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 added to 0 is 28 times 4. 4 times 28 is 112. Negative 10 plus 112 is 102 times 4. And you can probably already see that 4 times 102 is going to be way more than 31. And then we add in negative 31 and we get a remainder of 377. So this time x minus 4 is not a function factor because the new equation will be 7x squared plus 28x plus 102 plus the remainder of 377 over x minus 4. So it is on that, you can find a point at which it will definitely be on this function, but it won't be where x is where x minus 4 equals 0, where the y equals 0. So this is going to be not a factor.